Well, hi, welcome back to A Second Cup. I'm Jim Craig. And earlier I spoke about meteors. Well, I want to talk about the whole, or meteor showers, talk about the whole, what are meteors? What are they? Where do they come from? Okay, first of all, if it is flying in space and it's not a planet or an asteroid, it's these small objects, they're called meteoroids. And they can range from the size of grains of powder to fairly good size. We had one in February 2013 that came down over Chelyabinsk, Russia, that when it hit the atmosphere, it exploded and broke out over 6 million square meters of glass in the region of Chelyabinsk. Did a lot of damage. A lot of people were hurt by flying glass. And fragments have been found. So they can be fairly good size. Now, the typical meteor that you see is probably no bigger than, I think I've got one here. I do, if I can get it out of here. No bigger than a pencil eraser. I mean, they're tiny. But when they hit the atmosphere, they hit very, very fast. And anybody who knows anything about the formula for kinetic energy, it's 1/2 mv squared. M is its mass. Mass isn't very big, but that V stands for velocity. That velocity is very fast, something on the order of 25 to 40,000 miles an hour, which you can convert into meters per second, and then square that. That's a lot of energy, and something the size of that pencil eraser can have the same kinetic energy as being hit by a bullet, or maybe somebody hurling a bowling ball at you at a couple hundred miles an hour. It can do a lot of damage if it hits you. The thing is, it's not likely to. When they hit the atmosphere, that energy has to go somewhere. So what it does is it hits the atmosphere and it heats up the air around it. So what you're not seeing is the meteor itself burning up, but you're seeing it compressing the air that ionizes the air. And when the ionization goes back to its ground state, it gives off a photon. A whole lot of quantum physics stuff going on. But that's what it is. That's lighting up that streak behind it. And of course, the heat that's generated by that is causing the meteor to ablate. And most of them burn up about 50 miles up. Every once in a while, you will get a larger one that can make it to the ground, but they're extremely rare. That's why meteorites are not likely to be found everywhere. By the way, I've already said meteoroid, meteor, and meteorite. Meteoroid is when it's still flying in space. A meteor is when it's streaking through the atmosphere. And a meteorite is when you find it when it hits the ground. Now, there are no records, reliable records, of anybody ever being killed by a meteorite strike. People have been hurt. Shortly after... in 1997, there was a meteor called in Peekskill, New Jersey, or Peekskill, New York, that came down, and people saw it. They got video of it when they were out for a football game, and it hit the rear quarter panel of somebody's car, and it probably started off about the size of a basketball and wound up about the size of a cantaloupe by the time it went through the car. There's also a record of a woman who had a meteor come through her roof, bounce on her couch, and hit her on the leg. And then a few years ago, I read an account of somebody driving their car outside of Madrid, Spain. One came through the windshield, bounced off their finger, and broke their finger, and ended up in the back seat of their minivan. So yeah, occasionally people do get hurt, but there are no credible accounts of any human ever being killed by a meteor strike. Now, when it comes to meteor showers, most meteor showers are comet debris. As comets go around the sun and those tails stream off, you often see two tails. One is a gas tail, sometimes called an ion tail, and the other is a dust tail. Well, that dust, those are little tiny particles of dust, when the Earth goes through those, they'll hit the atmosphere, and we see them as they streak across the sky. And most meteors in meteor showers are very, very tiny. The exception are the Geminids. Those are asteroidal. That comes from the debris from an asteroid called Phaethon, which means that they are rocks, not dust. And, they're again still fairly small, still burn up 50 miles up, but they're bigger, which is why they're brighter and leave longer streaks. And sometimes you can see a smoke streak behind them. Comets are another thing entirely, and I may do a video on comets. We don't have any bright comets visible at this time, but I sometimes get surprised by how many comets there are, or how many I've seen over the years. I used to think that comets, I told my kids when they were growing up that comets were incredibly rare. So, they are, before they were 10 years old, they had already seen at least 3. And we've seen several more since then. Well, that's your second cup. If you have any questions, drop them in the comments below. I'd really like to hear from you. I'd like to know what you think. If you have any questions about this particular topic, if you have some topics you'd like me to discuss, please make the comments below, because that's what keeps us going here. So until next time, this is Jim Craig enjoying his second cup. Hope you enjoy a second cup and going out and enjoying the nighttime sky.